option where you play blackjack with a real person, just like you're sitting at a table in Las Vegas. Roulette, same thing. The live casino option puts you on a table with a live person spinning the roulette wheel, just like at the casino. If you haven't checked out this new option, go to mybookie.ag now and see what I'm talking about. I've been playing all last week, and it is awesome. The slot machine options as well. Of course, you get a generous sign-up bonus using promo code 1010XL. That's promo code 1010XL to secure yourself a sweet deposit bonus. Sign up today at MyBookie and check out their revamped online casino. Take it from me. Go check out that live casino tab for blackjack, roulette, and so much more. That's promo code 1010XL to secure yourself a bonus. Play anytime, anywhere with the MyBookie Casino.
The Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute is now offering online scheduling for new patient appointments for all of their physicians. Simply schedule your appointment on your cell phone, tablet, or desktop. JOI is the first orthopedic practice in North Florida to offer this feature to patients. To schedule your appointment online, visit joi.net and click on the button at the top of the page. If you'll be using insurance, be sure and have your information handy. JOI, where the pros go.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Want to grow your hair back?
IHRS right here in Jacksonville is the only hair transplant clinic in the country that offers multi-unit hair grafting, FUE neograft hair transplants, and the 45-minute effective PRP treatments.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
Thank you, IHRS. IHRS showed me what was causing my hair loss and helped stop it.
Schedule a free evaluation and find out how to grow your hair back and keep the hair you have. Call 904-777-IHRS. Take the first step to restoring your hair today. Visit hairforme.com.
Now my hair will grow for the rest of my life. Thanks, IHRS.
IHRS has been restoring hair for men and women for over 30 years.
Call now for a free in-person or virtual evaluation. 904-777-IHRS. That's 904-777-4477. Or visit hair4me.com.
This is your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update. I'm Andrew Gibson for 1010XL. A big upset last night in round one of the high school baseball playoffs. The Bolles Bulldogs a 3-1 victory over Trinity Christian behind 10 strikeouts from Bulldogs ace Chase Kick. Mike Boswell, head coach of Bolles, on his pitcher that had a dominant performance last night.
Chase is good. I mean, he's been, one of my great young guys that started as a freshman. He pitched in relief a lot of Baumeister's games as a young guy. So he got to watch, the Baumeisters come through and do what they did. He's got some good stuff. He's got, committed to Clemson. He's a Bulldog on the mound. He's going to compete with 3 pitches in the strike zone. So he gives us a chance to win every time he goes out.
Bolles head coach Mike Boswell on Chase Kick, 10 strikeouts last night against Trinity Christian. Bolles will play Trinity Catholic on Friday. Right now, 82 degrees at 3 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Hot day and it's a long way back to my home. Turn the radio on, I'm hearing my friend busy. Pretend that the voice counts, but nothing amounts to anything until I hear it from you.
Frank, Hayes, Lauren, and Gibby. The Frangie Show starts now on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Hey, welcome in. Glad you're along for the ride. Hayes Carline is here. Lauren Brooks and Andrew Gibson. I'm Frank Frangie, and we welcome you to this, a Wednesday installment of our program. We now know London. We got a lot to talk about. The primetime guys and Mayor Lenny Curry talked about the stadium a little bit, so we can certainly comment on that. And we have a schedule in T-minus, whatever.
5 hours.
5 hours? Well, not 5 hours.
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
Tomorrow.
It's 8 o'clock tomorrow night. So.
Oh, well, I mean, I'll have it.
T-minus 29 hours. So
there you go.
It's not that far. But we'll know some of the games tomorrow morning.
That's right.
We'll know some of the games. So there's that.
It was exciting to get some games today. We
Yeah,
kind of figured what was happening with the Jags, but certainly the other teams were new to us.
I got to tell you a funny inside the business story from yesterday's show. Our friends in the morning, Dan and Jeff, called this Inside the Business. So you'll appreciate this story. So, Hazen, we all knew that there was probably going to be 2 games, right? Probably going to be a Buffalo game. And so my intel had kind of told me it was the 1st and the 8th. But Hayes has very good sources too, probably better than some of mine, and you were thinking the 8th and the 15th. And the only reason that was significant to me is I got a birthday. So my 65th birthday is on October 4th. So I'm thinking, so Hayes, no, I think it's 8th, 15th, and I'm thinking, well, my intel says 1st and 8th, but then I'm thinking, well, dang it. I want my birthday. Suzanne's probably going to go with me. And I'm guessing the birthday will probably be in Paris, where you've been 24 times, but I've never been.
Actually, just once.
Okay,
but I am
one
going
coming
back.
up. Okay,
Yeah,
so I'm gonna count that.
Right.
2 is more than it's
Okay.
24. Okay.
Okay, there you go.
But so I think we're gonna maybe spend my birthday in Paris. So which would be the October 4th, my 65th birthday. So and I'm not a big birthday guy, but that's kind of cool. But then, but Hayes knows this stuff. Hayes doesn't throw stuff out there that he had a confident look on his face. So I'm thinking, I'm going to get on my intel if it's wrong. I'm going to get mad at somebody. So I worried for about 5 hours that I wasn't having my birthday in Paris, just so you know that.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
I added to your stress.
But it was.
I'll get you a beret that says "Happy 65th
Then I'll say
birthday."
thank
that
you
you
very
can
much.
wear
Then
in
it's all
Paris.
good. Then it's
Yeah.
all good. Anyway, it was a fun. It was a fun. After I'm thinking, well, I'll be darned. So there you go. So, but we have heard the word. I don't think there's a great deal of surprises. I can tell you what I do think about some of the things. I think the Jags. Let me just say this, and we've kind of talked about this when Mark Lamping talked to Gene Fournette about this a couple weeks ago, and when they talked about the possibility. It's a great win for the Jags. If you're going to play a game in London, which they do for business reasons and all the reasons we've discussed, you're giving up a game that is a home game. Presumably, it is easier to win games at home because your crowd helps you. Well, if you had to give up one game that you might win anyway, I kind of think the Falcons are that game. I kind of think the Falcons are a team you're going to beat anyway. And if there's one place you don't want to have to go, that I think it's hard on the road, and Hayes, you talked about this yesterday a little bit, is Buffalo. So now that it is official, that it is Falcons, and you kind of knew that. Yeah, you kind of hit on that yesterday. You said your Atlanta buddies were kind of seeping that out. Now that we can officially say it, number one, if you're going to play in London, great win.
Yes.
It couldn't have gone. The opponents couldn't have lined up any better if you're playing 2 games in London.
Well, again, I think you worry. One of the things that you worry about in terms of road trips is, particularly when you're from Jacksonville, is bad weather. Well, really now, eliminating Buffalo, I would say, is the number one weather potential problem.
Agreed.
So you've eliminated that. Now you do have an away game at Cleveland. You have an away game. Even Nashville. I'm going to throw them in there because one of the coldest games I ever covered was in Nashville. So it can be a problem. But even then, that's more cold. That's not blizzard. That's not usually a lot of wind. So really now, as you look at it, you've really only got one true harsh weather potential situation that you have to worry about in Cleveland. And I guess perhaps Pittsburgh. But obviously those games could be early and it may not matter at all. So you may end up with a schedule where you really have very pleasant weather for your road games. Obviously, a lot of these are going to be in a dome, and then you've got Tampa Bay, and so obviously that's going to be very comparable weather to what this is. So I think that helps. And look, the Buffalo game, if you were going to go to Buffalo, your odds of winning that game are pretty low. I think they are better when it's a neutral site in London. Now, there's certain things that I think the Jaguars are going to have to combat. The first one being, can you be ready to beat a good team when you've been over there for 12 days? That's a radical routine shift. And so that's going to be a challenge for the staff because they haven't done this kind of a trip in a very long time. The only time they've even remotely done something close to this is they played at Cincinnati in, what would that have been, 15?
14.
14?
Yeah.
So they played at Cincinnati and then left directly from Cincinnati and flew to England.
Yeah, that was my first trip. That was my first year doing the game.
Yeah, and I went on that trip, but I didn't go. I went from Cincinnati. First, I think I left the next morning. Anyway, it was a very long week. And again, I think for guys on the team, and there aren't probably a ton, but guys on the team that have little kids, like Roy Robertson Harris was joining us in here. It's tough. It's tough to be away, but again, I think from a competitive standpoint, I think you'd rather have it this way, and play the Bills over there instead of having to go to Buffalo. Because look, if you ended up in one of those bad weather games in Buffalo, this team's not winning that game.
Right.
I mean, they're not built to win that game. They're not comfortable playing in that game. We saw what it was like in Philadelphia last year, where half the team acted like they never played in the rain before. So they're not ready to go now, and that could be a problem in the tournament. That's why seeding is going to be so crucial in the Trevor Lawrence era. They were the 4 seed last year. That was great because it was great just that they won the division and got in. Now the bounty goes up. You want those games played here. Not that the weather, it can be adverse here, somewhat those months, but this team needs to avoid trips to Buffalo at all costs, and so I like it.
I know it's a different continent, but we've seen teams where if they are going to have 2 games on the West Coast, the team stays on the West Coast, or vice versa, they stay on the East Coast.
Well, you did that trip with Cover the Jags.
In 13.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it's a different continent, so it is certainly different. But we have seen teams where players have to be removed from their families for the whole week and back-to-back weekends. But I think in the end, the question that I have as far as the new stadium is concerned with London is, if the Jaguars are successful as a team and once the new stadium or the renovated stadium is done, will the London trip still be necessary to be viable for the franchise?
Yeah, and that's a question we'll ask, because we're going to talk about the stadium coming up in a bit, because it's a question I think a lot of people will ask. Regarding this trip, I'll tell you some things that I did here. I think it came down to 2 of the teams involved for the Jaguar home game were Baltimore and Atlanta. And both the Titans and the Jags had home games against both. And both the Titans and the Jags were hosting games in London. So it very well could have been Baltimore, Jacksonville, and London. And in Atlanta played and not be Atlanta. Okay, in other words,
Atlanta, Nashville also played London.
Atlanta, Tennessee, and London. It could have been Baltimore and Jacksonville in London, and Atlanta, Tennessee, and London. Well, that's the win for Jacksonville, because now Tennessee loses the home game it was going to play against a good Ravens team. Okay, that's kind of the point. Now they've got to play them in London. Jacksonville does not now lose a home game against a good Ravens team. So I from what I've been told, it was told kind of during the process that Baltimore and Atlanta were 2 of the teams that down the stretch it was going to be one of them. And one was going to play the Jaguars in London, and one were going to play the Titans in London. And what I didn't want is us to have to play Baltimore and lose the home field advantage against Lamar Jackson and a good Baltimore team. I wanted us to play Atlanta and let Tennessee lose the Baltimore home game. So I'm told there was and again, that's a league decision, not a Jaguars. The Jaguars don't get to pick that. But I'm told, Hayes, that was a long conversation, and that specific detail really landed in the Jaguars' favor and to the Titans' disfavor.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, another aspect of this that I think's been really interesting is, of course, this happens every year. The Jaguars are announced that they're playing a home game over in London, and this year it's that they're playing 2. And, of course, a lot of the national media didn't include the fact that the second game is a road game, so who really cares? And so it kickstarts the whole, well, if they ever expand in London, that's never going to happen.
Correct.
And we've seen it in this cycle, because you've seen teams that are basically now saying, you know what, we've done it, we don't want to go back. And so there's no chance that they're ever going to have a division that's based in Europe. You can forget about it. I understand Pro Football Talk wants to write these stories, and I'm sure they get great traffic for writing them. But even if you discount all the potential hundreds of millions that Shad Khan is getting ready to invest in Jacksonville, forget that. Forget the Jaguars are even in the conversation. To have a 4-team European division, it will never work, because you would have to have such inventory over there, and none of these teams want to go anymore. It was a novel thing. Shad Khan was kind of giggled at in 2013 when he told the other owners, hey, I'd like to play a home game in London. And they kind of patted him on the head and said, okay, Shad, you play your game in London. Then they saw what a cash cow it was for the Jaguars. Then they all wanted to do it. And now they've all done it. And they've all gone as the road team because everybody was sort of required to go once. And now very few, if none of them, really want to do it again. Right. There's no way you're going to convince some of these teams to go over there 2 or 3 times in a season when they're matched up with that division.
And you couldn't try players out. You can't imagine how many players fly in for a tryout over the course of the season. You're going to fly